Welcome to the Big Roofs podcast where we talk about roofing, business, life, and other stuff as well. We're your hosts, John and AJ, and today we are joined by our good friend, Brad Akers. Welcome, Brad, to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Love it. Well, we usually will jump off right at the start with a question about something with the word big in it. So, my question for you to jump things off today, right here at the beginning, is since the beginning of the new year, we're still in January. What's been your biggest win so far this year since the turn of the year?
So it didn't start right away, but I had been kind of neglecting my fitness and all that. Kind of had a crazy year last year, and I am 8 days in a row right now into morning workout. So it's a small one, but it's a big one. That starting the day off that way has always been good for me. I don't know why I ever stop, but when I do start again, I'm always reminded that it's a better way to do it. So that's my big win.
Definitely agree. I need to work out. I'm a different person when I work out, a better
It's
person.
uncanny.
That is it. Congratulations on that. It is that is really good. It is really,
Thank you.
really good. Yeah,
I
I
got to
am
keep going.
guilty as well. It's so hard. It's so hard, especially when you're an entrepreneur, you're passionate about work, you love working. It's hard to balance the two.
Yeah.
At least that's what I find. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So I will really hear what I want to start at the beginning is just really hear your story. And I think that's going to be something that most of the people listening are not necessarily going to know. How like go to the beginning. How did you even get into the roofing industry? And then kind of walk us through how you got to this point in your career.
Yeah. So as I was like ending college, I was working for like the last 2 years of college. I was a 5 year college guy. The summer between junior and senior year and senior year and second senior year, right? I worked for a custom home builder. So I got kind of just that was my intro into the construction industry. We were building multi-million-dollar homes, and I, not to pat myself on the back, but like I was a pretty good intern. So they ended up putting me as the person that would go to the different like subdivisions while the project manager or the superintendent was out of town so that they could keep production up. So I that was pretty fun, pretty like action packed because these were, I mean, it was like 10 big custom homes at any given time and pretty just fun. I was like a young kid. Um, I wanted to get a job at that company, and they offered me a job, and then they ended up laying off a ton of people. And I know the owner, and he was just like, Brad, you can come, but like I don't know if now's a good time. And they've bounced back very well since then, but it was just kind of strange times in the home building industry. So I ended up kind of just looking around and stumbled across roofing distribution, came on as a manager in training at SRS distribution pretty quickly, got promoted to territory manager instead of like the branch manager route. I just wanted to get into sales, and Hurricane Harvey happened like my first like 6 months of being in sales. So I pretty quickly went from a baby faced 25-year-old to selling about 6 or 7 million a year in roofing material all over the country just by chance. Like had people that I got that flew into Houston, and then they ended up going all over and they still wanted to buy from me. And then I started a roofing, or I not started, I joined my buddy who's one of my clients in his roofing company for close to a year, a little less. At the same time, I started a marketing company as like what was going to be a side hustle. I knew marketing because that was like one of my value propositions for bigger clients. Why
What
should you
year
work
was
with
this when you were starting the agency?
uh, 5 years ago?
5 years. Okay.
Yeah, about 5 years ago. And then so started the agency at the same time as joining my buddy in this roofing company. I had agency experience because that was like one of my ways of getting the big clients. They're like, why should I trust you? Like, you're young, you just are getting. So I was like, I'm going to work harder than everyone, and I'll try to help you generate leads, because that's everyone's, or at least my understanding at that time, that was everyone's biggest problem. Agency took off, roofing company did well, but one was 100% mine and one was 50% mine. And I just felt like I couldn't do both. So I went all in on the agency and had a merger in between there, had an acquisition, bought another agency, most recently sold my agency, and now I'm just doing consulting full time. So
Love it.
there we go. Sorry. That was
Congratulations.
long.
What was the agency? What was your agency's name?
So I was a franchise location of Height Digital. So
Okay.
Height Digital opened a franchise program. My other agency, they bought in so that I would become one of their franchises. And then I ended up I bought another location, ran that with my other one and merged it all together for a year. And then I sold all of it in April.
Nice. Congratulations. It's felt good to be able to package that off and walk away from it.
Yeah, it's good to getting something is always good. When I didn't sell it necessarily because I was just like ready to go make millions of dollars or anything. Like, it was not as sexy of a sale as I would like it to be. But I really just got passionate about what I'm doing now, and to the point where I'm not the best at doing 10 things at once. I already have enough going on in my head. When I find something, I kind of just need to latch on to it. So
Yeah. No, I totally get that. So Brad grows businesses. This is the one thing, the 100% focus now, correct? And so tell us about Brad grows businesses. Did BGB? Do you ever go by BGB, or like
BGB is
you?
what I would like to go by mostly,
Okay.
despite the branding. Sorry. But that's because Elizabeth, who you guys know, who hopefully everyone listening at some point gets to meet, because she's fantastic.
Oh yeah, Elizabeth
But she's a
President.
partner in the business. And she became a partner in the business like a month after I started it, because she was helping me with a few things. And then I was like, I need to grab on, make sure that give her those golden handcuffs so she doesn't leave, because I just didn't want to think about what it'd be like without her helping.
Yeah. No, she's great. She's on the pro school calls a lot, and yeah, been really nice to have her on. So that totally makes sense. So yeah, BGB. So yeah, tell us a little bit about what you provide and what your services are, and just give us
Absolutely.
kind of a layout of that.
So what we try to do is create an alternative to the traditional like marketing routes that people see. We're all about moving away from the cold leads of like Google ads and Facebook ads and SEO, which are all cold leads at some level, and trying to really leverage like what already is happening within the business. So we're really focused on getting opportunities around the areas that you're already working and getting more referrals from who you're working with, and creating processes that are really repeatable around those things. Some fun math that is kind of mind-blowing, but it works. It checks out. If your closing rate is 30% and you begin getting 3 additional appointments, not jobs, appointments as a result of every job. So between getting in front of a neighbor and getting a referral, and you keep the same closing rate, if you're looking at a month over month, you're growing 90% month over month in number of new sales. So everyone is chasing the algorithm, and everyone's trying to get their numbers right when it comes to Google ads and Facebook ads and finding who to trust and all of that. My position is if you build these internal processes, you're going to kick the butt of any marketing agency you're ever going to hire. And if you do want to hire a marketing agency to run cold traffic after that, you're going to make it go further, because now you can turn one of those jobs that maybe you spent $1,500 to acquire and then turn it into 2 or 3 and cut your cost per acquisition in half or in thirds.
Oh yeah. No, that totally
It's
makes
definitely one of
sense.
the things that people don't think about. People do not understand how much it costs, the acquisition costs to actually get a customer. It's wild. And before we hit record, you talked about the, target, it's the 1 to 3 million are underserved, but these systems can work for any size roofing business.
Yeah.
They really, really are. And you talk about the economics of it, and I've experienced this firsthand where I'm a big investor in marketing. I'm a big believer in having the right systems and processes in place for my roofing business, but it's very difficult to do that whenever you are under 3 million. It just costs money. And then you're like, well, if you have a bad month and your acquisition cost goes up, then you're in pretty bad spot.
Yeah.
And then winter happens and you have no lead flow coming in, and you can't do any jobs to make up the difference. It's not a volume business. It is a profit business.
Exactly.
Every job needs to be profitable. It's not about quantity of roofs. It's not about revenue at all. It is about how many dollars of profit you can make. And I've been going through this with my team as well. Like, we need to make sure we focus on profit for every single job.
And that's the thing that I think people don't understand, because so many roofing business owners, and I've have a kind of a decent amount of experience at this point in just business deals. I didn't even mention, so on top of that, my wife and I have bought a exercise studio as well before any of my businesses, and run it now. And actually, I'm assuming no one listens to roofing podcasts, but we're in the process of potentially moving that. We just got a valuation back, which is amazing. She's kicking my butt if we get this number, which is great.
Nice.
But there's a lot of math that is done in your head or on a paper napkin, and it can be detrimental to your business, because there's a time for agility and quick decisions and making moves and all of that. But if you haven't ever done the real math that it takes to be profitable on a job, then you're going to struggle. And what I think the real problem with marketing, like with running marketing, is it's not a one-time campaign. So the way I look at it is, like, if you look at your entire marketing budget over the course of a year, and you are able to wait a year, and then you look at your profitability, then you'll usually be profitable. The problem is, it's where usually, especially in the 1 to 3 million, like, you don't have the luxury of looking out that far. And oftentimes when you're hiring a marketing agency, and I think this is wrong, like, I don't think you should do this, but a lot of the times when people hire a marketing agency, there's 2 things happening, usually at the same time. One, they have a true deficit of leads, and they're nervous about how many jobs they're going to do. They feel like they don't have really very much control. So they're just like, I just need the phone ringing. And 2, a lot of the time at the same time, you're trying to keep a salesperson fed. So if you're trying to keep a salesperson fed on top of the price to acquire the customer, you also now have commission, and the business has to be profitable. And a lot of the time it isn't. And I have this little, like, sales letter I made over here, and I want to read you through a part of it, just because I think it's better than I could just do off from the hip, but it will walk you through the cycle. And I want John especially to tell me if this is familiar. This is kind of what generally goes wrong when you invest in a standard marketing package. This is the flow. You get on a sales call with someone you've seen online, and they show you examples of things you could be doing with your website, examples of people who've had results of them, all that. You're warned that SEO takes time, but it's the only way to grow and you need to invest in it, and that a combination between SEO and Google Ads is what you need. They charge you anywhere from $1,500 to $5,000 a month management fee for the bundled SEO and ads management. The further you get along the marketing journey, usually the more you pay, which is not actually your problem. You're not just hiring the wrong agencies. It's actually the economics. But let's call it $2,500 for the math we're about to do. Ask what you're willing to spend in ad spend. I ran a marketing agency where we had at times 100 clients, like most of them roofers. I don't know what it is, $100 a day. That's the magic number. Everyone's like, I think I can do $100 a day. So $3,000 a month, very common number to start with in ad spend. And then usually they're like, we'll scale it up from there. So $3,000 a month in ad spend. The ad spend gets you anywhere from 8 to 12 appointments, but they're not all re-roofs. Some are gutters, some are siding, some are repairs, a couple re-roof leads, and a bunch of random calls with people thinking you're a supplier or thinking you're another company, and it just kind of becomes a little chaotic. You close, usually attribution's not great either, so you don't even really know what's coming from what. You close anywhere, you close the 8 to 12 appointments at 30%. So right about 3 jobs. The cost per sale, a number no one talked about, is around $1,833. So 5,500, 2,500 plus 3,000 divided by 3, 1,833. Hopefully some of those are re-roofs, right? But we're not even guaranteeing that they are. Jobs are scheduled over the next few weeks, and you're a couple months away from collecting all of the cash that you paid on the jobs that you paid $1,800 to generate. You turn around and spend it all again the next month and the next month, hoping that results get better because you're still committed to marketing. You believe in it. You have significantly less in your bank account when you started than when you started, and you see Google charging you what feels like every few days, and it begins to get a little stressful. You ask for an update, and the agency tells you you're just getting started. SEO needs way more time, but it is looking promising. And the cost per lead on Google Ads is right within KPI. And then they start asking you, how are you following up with the leads? What are you doing? Hey, you didn't answer these calls. A month or two later, you finally realize, I can't keep doing this. I don't care if it's the agency's fault or my fault, but I can't. So you ask to cancel. You've spent $15,000, $20,000 in management fees and ad spend. And then the agency, right, just to poke you right at the end, was like, man, the SEO is just starting to work. Your phone stops ringing. You're in a worse position than you are before because you have less money, and you don't have the phone calls that you started getting used to, even though they weren't profitable. And then a few months later, you find a new agency and do the exact same thing over again. So, John, you've run a roofing company for a while.
What a good story that everyone has unfortunately lived through. Yeah, same thing. Exact same thing. There's so many things I can touch on. Okay, going back. I was looking at our numbers. We're in the South, and people ask me all the time, like, what's your average? If you don't know your average contract, you need to know it.
Yeah.
Ours is just under $15,000.
Yeah.
Averaging between 2 locations.
Mm-hmm.
It can be higher than that, whatever. We're trying to hit 35% gross profit, but generally, if we do 30%, that's an acceptable. We're accepting 30%. That's $4,200 around that.
12,000, 35% of 12,000 is 4,200.
Yeah.
So that's the number I always use. The only
that's
reason
great. That's a great number.
Like a savant.
That's a great. But $4,200, people are like, oh, $4,200, make that in a day, right? Easy roof. They do not think about all the things you just talked about. They're looking at that large number. And I'll go back again even further. If you're listening to this, watching this, and you have a salesperson and you're not even doing $1 million, or you're right around $1 million, like if you don't have a process in place, you're gonna fail. It's too much money to pay somebody to do a job that you should be able to do.
It's your business. What if you can't do the job?
Yeah, you got to you got to sell. I'll give it some leeway. You got to sell $800,000 by yourself. You got to. You have to do that. But you need to sell your first $1 million really by yourself, because the acquisition cost is so high. You just don't realize it. You're like, why do I? That letter was great because I've lived it definitely early on. I still sometimes feel like I live that, but yeah, like why do I not have any money? And it's because of all those things. You're looking at the $4,000, the $5,000 ticket, and you're not even maybe even thinking about the commission. I don't know why, but you're not. But let's say you don't have to pay commission. You still have real dollars leaving your business to get that customer, and it is way higher than you think. It's not $300. It's not $500. Like, it is real. I don't care. Canvassing is door knocking is a very affordable way to do that. There's still real costs, though. There's still real costs that are happening that you just don't realize. Because I have a bunch of friends.
General overhead. Like, that's the thing, is like, you have your actual, I could come up with not even the net on the average job, but I could come up with like less than gross, if that makes sense. So if we're talking 12,000 as average, 4,200, 1,800 cost per acquisition, maybe $1,000 commission, that's $2,800. 4,200 minus 2,800, so that's $1,400.
I literally just wrote that down. That exact number. I just wrote that down in my journal last week. Same exact numbers.
1,400 times 3 jobs or whatever your ad spend allows. And then the problem is, like, once again, no one thinks about this. It's like, oh no, I made a few thousand, or I'm good with breaking even. It's like, oh no. Breaking even is losing.
Yeah.
So, and what people don't realize, and this is why I say the $1 to $3 million people are underserved. One, they don't usually have massive cash reserves. And like, sometimes they do, which is fantastic, but a lot of the times they don't. And we've all been business owners. Like, it's nowhere near as easy to stack cash as you want it to be. Like, especially as you're making decisions, you're investing in this, you're trying to grow your business, you're trying to grow your knowledge, like, you're all over the place. But what people don't realize is, like, the big problem is, one, how long it takes for a job to get fully collected and scheduled and all of that. And two, the fact that you are having to make a less than 1x ROI, 0.75 or something, but then you're spending the same amount of money the next month. And it usually takes around 8 months. At $3,000 ad spend, 2,500 with some of the numbers I broke down. Just trust me on this one. It usually takes about 8 months before you actually begin having more money more money made than you had put in. And that's not possible for a lot of people.
No. And it's real. Like, for all the people we have friends in agencies, like, it's real work. Like, if you're a roofer listening to this, like, it's not fake. It's real work. And it takes a lot of time to work on the algorithm. All those things that you're saying, Brad, it's true. Like, it's not a lie,
and that's
guys.
The problem is, like, so that's what I always like. The next part in that same letter is, I want to let you know, if you've experienced that, it's not your fault. This is what so many people are telling you to do, and logically it makes sense, but you are set up to fail from the start. The problem comes down to cash flow cycles of roofing businesses and how that relates to what a realistic marketing strategy is. But now that you read this, you got to make sure you don't piss Albert Einstein off, because insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. You got to make a change. You got to figure out what's actually happening and really begin to look. You have to look at your numbers. You have to look at your cost per acquisition, and you can go a couple routes. You can go I'm going to spend this money and allow myself the runway, and I'm going to hustle extra hard so that I can cover the investment, knowing it's not going to make me money for a while. That's an option. And that's what a lot of people should do. But the thing is, that's not the only option. So like, there's things you could grow exponentially. I just told y'all like the 3 appointments for every job. You can grow exponentially without running a single paid ad. And it doesn't mean you're knocking doors all day either. Like, you just have to, like you said, John, like, you have to have solid processes. You have to have processes around a lot of things. People like to get really honed in on one thing. Processes around production, processes around like how we're selling. And it's like, honestly, like, selling a roof is kind of hard, but not that hard. The biggest lever you have is not the hand-to-hand combat of sales. The biggest lever you have is getting in front of qualified people. But a lead and a qualified appointment is just so far from the same thing. And a qualified appointment has a lot of cost associated with it. And the cost can be either front-loaded by building a solid process. It can be in real time by spending a bunch of time just to generate that qualified appointment, or it's money.
I'm glad you said that. We talked about this last week, I think, AJ, about qualification of leads and niching down into your services. And I'll just say it again, like, you need to niche down to 1 or 2 things, maybe 3, but every single thing, every service that you offer has a complete different set of processes. It can have different sets of crews, sales tactics. Like, there's all kinds of things that make it difficult to sell multiple different things. And the reason I bring that up is because you mentioned in your letter getting those leads, those 12 leads. You said, well, it's like roofing, repair, siding. Like, we don't want those. Like, it does not help a roofing company get those other types of leads. I don't care if your guys say
But
they
it
can do it.
increases your cost per appointment to niche down. So I'm not saying no.
No, I get it.
That makes the economics even more important to understand and to respect and to react to, or ideally be proactive about, because you're listening to this and you're a smart roofing business owner.
That's right. I would say I'm going to give it an actual, I think my opinion really will stay this way because I've done everything. I've literally started my business. It was DeLaurier Roofing and Renovation. I was doing kitchen remodels. I was doing windows. We're painting. We're residing the entire house. It is very difficult as a startup to do all those things efficiently and profitably. It's very, very difficult. There are certain people that can do it, have the right partnerships with the right crews and the right marketing, and they have a stack of cash to run all those campaigns. But in general, for most people, you should pick a trade and sell that service. It's not for everybody. I know there's a lot of people that are successful with doing multiple things, but I'm just telling you, for
it's
people
harder
that I
to
encounter,
grow that. Like, those are one-man shows a lot of the time that are able to peel off 2 or 3 million with them and a small team, which is great. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but no offense, like, those are the people that are like kind of like the contractor that's addicted to the chaos, which is fine. Like, we're all business owners, but like, you have chaos that you don't need to have. You're having more trouble growing and scaling than you need to have. And it's not wrong. There's no wrong way, but if you're complaining, then it's wrong. Like, if you're complaining, this is
they're complaining about time, energy, or money. They're complaining about time, energy, or money. It's very likely one of those 3 things are happening, or all of them. Mm-hmm. So just a clear example, while you're up there on the roof, or while you're here, do this. That's you're feeding into that customer mentality. Is like, hey, you're here, you should give me a discount on the next. I know you gave me a proposal. If you magically actually did that, gave a proposal for roofing, painting, windows, all those things. The customer is going to expect a discount because while you're here, and then you're like, well, I want the job, so I'm going to give a discount, even though the costs are still the same. Your acquisition cost has drastically reduced, but your profitability has drastically reduced as well.
You do the
Because
paper napkin math of
yeah,
like, well, I'll just throw 300 or 400 on
I'm gonna
top of
make
that because we're already making
$15,000.
we're
Yeah,
already making our money over here.
yeah.
But like, there's sunk cost, there's time, like there's a lot of things that
Time is a
happen.
big thing. I preach this a lot. I I get messaged yesterday. I know you love standing seam. I don't really love jobs that take longer than 1 day.
Mm-hmm.
Customers don't like it, and it's way less profitable. There's more things to come up with that are wrong with the job. Like we should be shooting for jobs that take 1 day. There are window guys who can replace 50 windows in a day. They have a crew, they can make it, they can do it exactly right. They go and replace 50 windows in a day. I've seen it happen. 2-man crew did it, and it was awesome. Great work. Whatever trade you're selling, you should be doing that. Your goal should be 1 day jobs. There's a really popular franchise in the Northeast called One Day Bathroom.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, something like that. I know what you're
it
talking
is
about.
unbelievably hundreds of millions of dollars.
They've come down south too.
I'm just telling you, like, they have it right. They're preaching what I'm saying. Pick a trade, maybe two, and try to do it all in 1 day. You will be profitable. Your acquisition costs will be it will be higher, but your profitability will be probably double or maybe even triple than what doing the jack of all trades is doing. I don't care if you're a small company or a large company. Really look at your numbers and see the actual profit at the end of those jobs. I mean, we just did a $57,000 standing seam roof. That sounds great. And it was almost $18,000 of profit. It took us 6 days. So it's $3,000 a day of gross profit. That's not good. That's not. The customer fortunately was out of town, but they don't. That's how long
Saying
the
it's
jobs
better
are.
to do the one job in 1 day for 4,200. Is that what you're saying?
Way better.
That's a
Way
really
better.
good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Like a really good way. And way I haven't thought too much about.
looks great. $18,000 looks great. But if you know it's going to take 5 or 6 days, it's not a good job. It's not. You need to be making more than that. The math for us is $4,200 a day. Like, we need to be gross profiting 42. Like, that's the baseline. And if you're not doing that in today's dollars in 2024, you need to increase that. Whatever your margin is, it needs to be at least $4,200.
Yeah.
Let's
I
get
would say
back.
3 to 5 roofs a week. If you're not doing that, then you're gonna really have trouble. And I know like I know that's tough. I don't have any interest in being out in the field doing 3 to 5 roofs a day. Like I focus on the business side of things for a reason, because I don't like to get all crazy out there, but that's partially because I know what you need to do. Like, I know these are the numbers, these are the things that you need. And if you don't do it, you're really, really gonna struggle. And the math, like, you have to follow the numbers and then make decisions from the numbers, and then based off of your time. But also you have to make sure your time and the numbers are related. Like, you have to have a monetary value on your time, but you also can do exactly what you just said. Like, I really hadn't thought about that. So I'm like, you got my mind spinning. But $18,000 gross profit over 6 days is $3,000 gross profit a day, which is less than one $12,000 or $13,000 roof. Like, that should be mind blowing to anyone who's chasing commercial right now, for instance, for the first time, or anyone who's trying to get into like some of these other bigger specialty roofs. And you need to do the math like that, and you need to look at the numbers in as many different ways as you can. Like, that's an example of a way I hadn't thought about that makes immediate sense. So that's just good. I just want
to good. Got to do that math.
Got me a little fired up on that one.
Let's circle back, because I think we got a really good sidetrack here, but let's kind of come back talking about the marketing stuff, because I think we really established well, like, the problem is there, like, with the way most companies are kind of in this endless cycle. And I really want to finish that thought out and transition to from your perspective, Brad, like what is the things that companies should be doing instead? How do they get out of that cycle? Can we
Yeah.
let's talk about that.
So I think one of the big things, like step one is understanding cost per acquisition is not as it's not as low as you think it is, or at least it's something that you really need to consider. Step two is really looking for opportunities that compound. And this is where I get nerdy and maybe I lose some people, but like it's the best way. Like find exponential opportunities in your client acquisition.
Example. So we just started
that.
Peach State Roofing just started your program.
Yes.
We are excited. My team, I just hired a new guy. He was very impressed with Elizabeth and just going through the process and because our values align with what you guys are doing, so it makes sense for us to start this program with you. Just give like our viewers, our audience, just a couple different things that we're going to be going through in our training. Just like real practical things that they're probably not doing or that you see when you work with other clients.
Easy. So I'll give you as abbreviated version of the whole process as I can. We have our 4 growth engines, and those are 4 things that we want to help you install onto your sales and production process that are meant to turn one opportunity into many. Those are direct mail strategies around appointments and builds. They're canvassing strategies around appointments and builds, and not just door knocking. Like, it's nuanced. So watch my videos. I give a lot away. Ways of communicating with prospects and then the neighbors that you do end up talking to that will increase conversion rates. And then the 4th one is using social media strategically, really in a way that's just promoting your work, because no one gives a shit. No one cares about
it's all good.
No one cares about your 5 ways to prepare your roof for fall. What they care about is to see that you're actually doing what you do. And we want to make sure that the work that you're doing is actually showing up maybe to the same people who got the mail, got the canvassing and all that. So just a hyper targeted way to get in front of people. The next thing we do is create a referral system that actually turns into a predictable source of revenue. Referrals are, someone just posted the other day, and like, I actually kind of like this person, but I just wholeheartedly disagree. He posted in a group saying, if you're relying on word of mouth to grow your business, like, you're going to fail. I think that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Like, how did Apple grow? Was it just a bunch of Google ads? Like, no, it's a good product and then compounding results from referrals and from people seeing how great it was.
I mean, Tesla didn't advertise until like this year.
Exactly.
And I know it's a different business.
I still have never seen a Tesla commercial.
They just came out finally.
Yeah. So I don't watch enough TV, I guess. But the thing is, like, I do believe in advertising, but you can and should be able to always have growth within your business due to referrals. In order to do that, you have to grab the referral process and actually take control of it. It's not enough anymore, or maybe ever, to just be like, hey, yeah, $250 a closed roof. Just let us know if you have a friend. It's also not enough to be like, give me 10 phone numbers of friends that maybe would need a roof, because they don't know who those people are. And then you're literally just getting a list of 10 people that you're cold calling, even though there's a relation. Like, it doesn't make that much sense. What you need to do is leverage the fact that these people have already vetted you. They know, like, and trust you. And they have a massive network of people that probably know, like, and trust them. So you can leverage their networks. You can get them to post about your business on Facebook. And that could be part of how to enter into your referral program or how to get paid in your referral program. You can have them post in a neighborhood Facebook group, and that can be incentivized. You can have them post on Nextdoor if they're not very active on social media. And they're going to have a lot more authority because they're a peer than you do. And that can be incentivized. So trying to find ways to create inbound referrals as a result of the actions your happy customers are doing, that's how we can create turn the referral process into a much more predictable source of leads. And like I said, like the easiest KPI is if you can get 3 or more appointments on average as a result of every job, you're always going to be growing.
I like this. I would say for anything, we say this all the time. If you're not implementing these things, it doesn't matter if you know these things.
Oh,
Like
I love that.
you can give away your entire program, Brad, and it still wouldn't be successful without your business, because you guys help implement it and make sure it happens. You're forcing our hand and taking our time to do the things we're supposed to do. That's the value that you really bring. And any program, like you can talk about any program. If you can know all the things, oh, I know that's supposed to work. Well, are you doing it very consistently, extremely consistently on every single job, on everything you're doing?
Set up in a way to do it consistently.
Yes. And it's you just have to do the things. You do give a framework, but what you really do also help with is implementing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So our whole thing, for anyone who's watching, like we have 3 main like things. We have a group mastermind where it's like a course, and then we have some like support calls, and then we have weekly trainings. So that's more the do it yourself, and then like you can still get some additional support. We have our done with you option, which is the same thing as the group mastermind, except you can book one-on-one calls with us whenever you want. And then what John and his team are going through is our done for you option. And we're doing as much of the one-time work as we can. And we are project managing, not just the things being created, but we're project managing the actual implementation. And that's where we firmly believe, like within a few months, like we can help exponentially grow your monthly sales, because we're not just doing the one-time work of building it out. We're on you to make sure it's actually getting done. And we're helping you feed the whole process that we just talked about, because if leads are a problem, then we would rather try to exponentially grow 50 appointments than 5 appointments a month, so we do address the lead problem, but that's done second, which is not how I think anyone else does it right now.
Make sure you can capitalize on every lead and maximize your value, then worry about ramping up leads once you know it, you can extract full value. That totally makes sense. We were talking about earlier, it's like this is a huge problem for like the 1 to 3, but then bigger companies too, it's the same thing. I think maybe with the bigger companies, it's just that they have more cash, so it's maybe a little bit more forgiving. They can get away with a little bit less capitalization, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't be much healthier, more profitable, faster growing businesses without this.
Yeah, there's still a lot of $10 million businesses that go under because of the same exact issue.
Same problem. Yeah.
I really do believe any roofing company would benefit from what we do. I am most drawn to the ones that I think are making decisions based off of what they see all these other people who are at the 6 or 7 million range. And there's a couple things to note, and we all have seen the fall of a few. But one, in distribution, I got a dirty look at the credit and the credit lines and all of that of some of the biggest roofing companies in the country. Like ones you guys know, I got to snoop around.
Oh yeah, it's the tale as old as time. I mean,
it doesn't look good. I'll tell you. SRS used to have a massive budget a year. They're at this point $5 billion company, maybe more. Sorry, SRS, if it's more. Love you, but yeah, probably more. They literally millions a year. They just expected to write off in bad debt.
It's in their budget. It's in their freaking budget. So, it's wild.
And so I'll tell you, big companies, small companies, mid-sized companies, it's rare to find someone that's actually paying their bills on time. So if you are, that's great. If you're not, you're really not alone. Like, you should fix it, but don't like let anyone make you feel like you're just the worst, but fix it, because otherwise it's just going to be a pain in the butt for you. But all companies would benefit from this. I think it's a matter of neglecting your cost per acquisition and not understanding it mostly. Having bigger budget at 5, 6, 7 million, 10 million, you have more to spend. So the cost does not necessarily hurt you as much, because that same math I just gave of the 1,800 cost per acquisition, if you're spending 3,000 a month, if you're spending 15,000 a month in Google ads, then that 2,500 is dispersed among a lot more jobs. So you are in, like, your cost per acquisition does get under 1,000 at that point. Like, it's not as bad. And the $1 to $3 million companies just can't afford that. But in reality, anyone who's investing in Google ads right now, if they want that channel as like singularly that channel, not just your entire thing, but if you want that channel to be profitable, you better be spending 10,000 a month in ad spend or more. And if you don't want, if it's just a piece or a way to feed you cold leads, which is what I think it should be, not always, like, you should scale it when you want to scale it, but to start, then you just need to have this other stuff. It doesn't have to be my stuff. You can just think 3 appointments as a result of every job. Like, it can be that simple if you need it to be.
I love how you're doing it. It really feels like what you're doing here is the missing piece. It's that piece between the contractor and the agency, where it's like both sides are doing their best. Like, the agency's doing what the agency said they're going to do in most cases. Well, maybe not even most, but like ideally,
more cases than people realize.
Yeah, they're doing their best. They're doing what they said. The contractor's doing their best, doing what they said, for the most part. So, like, both sides have their failings, but in general, it's like, this really feels like what you're talking about here is the missing piece, where it's like, oh, if this was in place, and if these systems were in place to maximize the value of each lead, where you are getting, depending on your close rate, I guess the way it works out with the numbers, assuming like a 33% close rate, then you're going to get 2 jobs for every one. Is that basically how the numbers work out?
Yeah, but the nice thing is that one job, you get 3 additional appointments as a result of that one job if you do it right, and then it continues to get your cost per acquisition. Eventually, just it goes down and down and down. Once it stabilizes, it will be spread out among a lot of jobs, and it'll just be like the cost of like the mail you're sending and the door hangers and stuff like that.
Right.
Obviously, commission is always, like, you need to include that in your cost per acquisition, or like at least account for it in your numbers.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that a lot. I'm really curious. So you're digging in with John here. Have you guys taken a look at the referral generation campaigns that we have built into ProLine, or like his campaigns that are set up? Have you taken a look at that?
So we just are getting started with John. So okay. I need to have my like full blown audit with them. I know Elizabeth probably has looked at some of those things. But I think, there's a reason I love ProLine, and it's not just because I think y'all are awesome. It's because it fits in really, really well. Like, it fits in with what we do, I think, really well. Like, it's not just a lead nurturing thing. Y'all have accounted for multiple like solutions within the sales and production process that are kind of aligned with what we do. Can create additional value, can respect the cost that it takes, the cost of generating a lead. I think that's something people don't really respect, how much they spent on a lead a lot of the time, because they think that, oh, I got a lead for $30 on Facebook. It's like, yeah, but only 1 of 3 of those leads actually turned into an appointment. And then you have that $130 lead plus the management fee. And then you also have all your overhead. You have gas. And also that lead wasn't that great. So like, they don't think through that. And I think y'all solutions like ProLine is just, it really allows you to squeeze as much as you possibly can out of all of your work, not just the cold leads, but even giving people a fantastic experience. Like, it matters.
I appreciate that. That's definitely been the goal. I think this is what you're talking about there is a result of how this was built in John's business from a very early stage. Like we started building this when he was still very early on. And it was all about squeezing as much as possible out of every single lead. It's like every single dollar that goes towards marketing has to be capitalized on. And I love that, like that, it's never been enough. John's continuing to push forward now with you to even further optimize and improve on that, the squeezing of every last drop. But that's, and also for me, so I don't know if you knew this about my background. I also had an agency.
I think
And
we've talked about this briefly before.
yeah, so and John was one of my clients, so I've seen it from the agency side too, just like you have, and much of this was also I was trying to account for multiple things in my approach to how ProLine was built and designed, and it was squeezing every last drop out of every lead, but B, also I anticipated other agencies, consultants wanting to use the platform. And we actually have a whole system. And I think you guys are on this right now. If not, we need to get you on it. But we have a super admin system where you can create a free account where you can manage all of your clients through a single login. And it's super rare.
Yeah.
Like very few softwares have that, but we have that specifically to make this easy because I envisioned other people like myself who are working and consulting with contractors and with companies and wanting to go in there and build more stuff. Like we have our base stuff that's built into ProLine. And I think this is a big misconception because so many softwares are so locked down in what they provide. It's like we do X, Y, Z, and that's it. You can't customize it, can't change it. ProLine, it's like it's like essentially a blank slate. Now we pre-populate out that blank slate with a number of campaigns for a good part of the process, but it is a complete creative playground for consultants or agencies to go in there and build out new campaigns, link them up with any stage of the process, change the process. And so I'm really excited for you to get into this with John and look at his campaigns around referrals because that
I've been on the brand new side of like someone just getting started with ProLine, which has always been like insightful, and we see things that we can add in and tweak really quickly. But I'm pumped to like really dive in to like probably as established of a ProLine account as there is, because I think it's just going to open my eyes to a lot of, while the functionality, I think I have a pretty clear idea of the ways to actually deploy that functionality like out in the field is what I'm really excited about, because I know John's creative. Like I've seen he thinks outside the box, which is really going to allow, I think, what we do to go further. But also I think that's part of why like y'all's relationship, for me, understanding these numbers and learning about this stuff was a result of a really strong relationship with John Bros. And he kind of schooled me on some things that I didn't necessarily see right away. And we kind of like, and we worked on some potential solutions with him, and he came up with some of it. I came up with some of it, and we talk weekly to this day. And I think it's those types of relationships with agencies that are like where things like this can be. Like ProLine is such a fantastic solution that a lot of people didn't know they needed. And bridging the gap, I think, is good because, like you said, agencies, I really don't think they're as bad as people think. It's just easy to blame the agency. And coming from someone who ran an agency, it's also easy to blame the contractor. Be like, they're not answering the phone enough. They're so unprofessional on the phone, on the call. Like, took them 6 hours to respond to this lead. All those things are problems. But like in reality, it's a budget thing a lot of the time. Like there's just that missing piece, like you said. And that's kind of what I wanted to do, is like my original tagline was going to be what you should do before you hire an agency. And I still am tempted with it, but admittedly, it just didn't hit like I thought it would. So as a marketer, I kept iterating.
People are gonna be like, well, I already hired a marketing agency. I guess I can't
Yeah,
work with him anymore.
exactly.
But I like the concept. I like the concept of that for sure. Well, so this has been great. I think and we can hit on anything else we want to, but I do want to bring up another topic. Is there anything else we want to hit talking about marketing, talking about your stuff before we move on to a completely different topic?
No, I don't, not that I can think of. I mean, I could go all day, but we
We'll
can,
wrap it up then.
yeah.
John, any other thoughts before we move on?
No, it's
Okay.
I'm excited to work with Brad. I mean, it's going to be a good experience for. I'm excited, especially for my new guy for Savannah to actually understand our processes even better. Because we had a call this morning. I was like, I don't even know. I apologize because I don't do a lot of HR stuff. I don't want to hire a huge fleet of sales reps. I want to hire A+ people. So I haven't spent a lot of time, effort, and energy. But what Brad's doing is helping me communicate effectively what our processes are. Like Elizabeth took us through, she asked me all the right questions, and Clay was like blown away because when she's bringing me through our processes, he's like, oh, that like, and it helps my team who've been with me for years too. But like just to have that refresher every single year to understand you're all on the same page, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, we're excited too.
Fantastic.
Let's talk about fighting.
Let's talk about the fight. I mean, we have to, right? Like this is our first
It would be hard not
podcast
to.
since then.
Everyone would be wondering.
Yeah, everyone would be wondering and be like, hey, was did they film this before? No, this is after the Dimitri Lee fight. So let's get your take, Brad. What's your thoughts on the fight leading up to it, just in general, and then also because we haven't talked about it prior, and then what'd you think of the outcome?
I'm proud of Dimitri because he, like, you just can't deny like the heart that it took in that fight. And I don't know why, I kind of thought he was probably going to win, only because like I I don't agree with everything Dimitri does. I appreciate what he does, but there's times where I'm like, man, like it's tough to watch people go down sometimes. Like I don't, it makes me feel icky. But that guy's a lion. Like you can't deny it. Uh so I'm proud of him because like I thought that was a hell of a performance. Um I feel really bad for Lee and I just don't want to I think he probably talked a little too much crap, and like this is a product of, this is every action has a reaction, so this is playing out. But I think that it's going to be tough for him, and I did think it was kind of fun how the whole industry, like how people went and visited and all that. But yeah, I don't know, I have trouble like verbalizing. I have such mixed feelings about it.
Yeah.
It's fun, but I found myself getting sucked in certain ways where I was like, this even feels a little toxic.
It was definitely some drama. This is probably where John and I differ a little bit because John didn't love all the drama parts of it. I don't know. I thought it was all great. I mean, I think it would not be ideal for this to become like a repeated thing in the industry, but I think it was a really cool thing for the time that really made sense. And I think being there in the crowd. So
Oh, you were there? I didn't
I was
realize
there at the fight with our head of marketing, James, and it was just electric and
Yeah,
such a crazy experience.
it seemed that way.
And I mean, it was at a actual amateur like MMA event. That's usually a pretty crowded event already. and it was just packed to the gills, and at least half the people there were roofers. And so it's just such a cool
Yeah.
industry thing, so different than like the other events I've been to, conferences and stuff like that.
Mhm.
There was just such raw emotion, and yeah, totally agree with you. Like the performance from Demetrius was incredible. I think
He never
clearly,
boxed other than like a few. I was like, there was
I was joking.
times where there's
I
times
would
it looked
always say,
sloppy,
yeah,
but
well,
sometimes that looked pretty trained. I was like, hey, he learned some stuff for sure.
I mean, doing 2-a-days for 4 months, that'll do something.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's not enough time to train really, but I mean, I've known his fitness level to be elite. Like it has been elite for a long time.
Yeah.
So
fitness
that
is
was going to
everything.
help him. And it was
Stamina.
very, very interesting to see the turn, like losing the first round pretty
Oh, yeah.
handily, lost the first round.
He's just so strategic though.
Well, I don't know. I think he could have gotten knocked out within about 9 seconds to go in the first round. It was very close to him getting knocked out.
I don't mean he's strategic. Well, I do. I don't mean he intentionally got beat. I think that he's very good at taking information and like okay, this person moved the chess piece here. I'm going to do that. And like just that's what I mean. Like I think he's just is able to think through things. I
He
feel
is.
like
And I'm happy for him to have that experience. Like it is true. I don't think it's horrible for the industry. Uh it's fine. I do think that there is a little bit of element of good versus evil, what if you want to call it that. Because there's evidence showing such. And I've spent a pretty significant amount of time with him to see him and his family and how he operates behind the scenes. So I feel like I understand who he is as a person, and I've seen evidence of what Lee has done. So I get the good versus evil part. I will say this: if you have kids, kids are they understand. They're the canary in the coal mine. They understand things in a different way that most people don't. My son is 8, and he did not know who Lee was. I have not been talking about the fight. I just don't do that. Not for any reason particular. He does jujitsu, so we talk about a lot of combat sports anyway. But
mhm.
he saw the weigh-in video where Lee was
Yeah.
being Lee, and he's like, that guy's a bully, and like the amount of emotion that Luke had watching the fight was more than everyone else in the room,
Yeah.
because he wanted the bully to lose. And if that,
And he just based off the weigh-in
just
video,
based
that
off
was
that
like,
one video,
yeah.
he's like, who's that guy? And it was pretty fun to watch.
I agree. And the person who I would wanted to won. I don't know where y'all stand here and we won't go too far, but the next Sunday morning at church, perfect timing. The sermon was about pride. And the pastor said, he said, I never like to see people fall, but it's our responsibility to learn from it. And I was like, wow, okay. Like pretty impressive timing. And that's just, I guess, my encouragement. What I know I need to do is like learn from it. Like there's consequences, and like, but don't relish in it. That's the one thing I don't like that I see happening is a lot of people are like, you can kind of see the horns coming up on their end, like talking crap, like really trying to beat the person while he's down. It's like, just watch yourself, I would say.
Yeah.
Don't get caught up.
Don't get caught
You
up in.
want to be a nice person, you want to be a
Yeah.
good person, and that's like who you want to be, then freaking be it.
Yeah, don't be mean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
don't become the thing you're fighting
exactly.
or the thing that you're against. Yeah, that's a really good lesson. Yeah, man. I think there was a really crazy, and I felt it when I was there. I was like, this doesn't feel like a normal fight. Like this feels like
Yeah.
there's something bigger here happening. Like, you can call it God, call it fate, call it what you want, but there's something guiding this. And I mean, it was, and Dimitri talked about it after the fight as well. And I think I think there was a lesson to be learned by Lee, and
Hopefully.
there was a way that fight was supposed to go, and I feel like it went that way. Even though I think clearly, I have a background in combat sports. I did jujitsu. I've done other martial arts as well. I've competed, so like I'm familiar, and it's very clear that Lee was the better fighter.
Yeah.
And I think you could just see him. And I think there's a lot to be said for Dimitri's fitness level. And I think that for his just mental toughness, he just stuck it out until Lee was tired, and Lee just wasn't able to take him down until, he was too exhausted.
Hmm.
So I think from a technical standpoint, you can look at it that way. But it's also like, I mean, Lee is unless he just really underprepared, which might have been the case. Like, from my understanding, I've seen Lee in other fights. Like, he is a monster. He knows how to fight. He's done a lot of training. He also does jujitsu, does MMA, and so it seemed like there was something holding him back somehow, weighing him down, that and that was keeping Dimitri in the fight. It was crazy. It was, especially just being there in the moment and watching it.
And
Um,
watching it on, yeah, I
it was
even online, I was watching, I was like, this is
there's something here. It's
like,
crazy.
this is crazy. Like,
Yeah.
and like I said, I think the right person won. I think the showmanship, not saying anyone was putting on a show, but the fact that it was in like the last few seconds was pretty awesome. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think I'm not mad that it happened. I just, like you said, I just love what you said is perfect. Don't become what you're fighting against. I think that's a good reminder, because it does. Like, I don't know about y'all, like, I was stressed after the fight looking at everyone on social media, like very stressed. And I almost like made a post, and then I was like, no, I don't even
Engage.
like want to engage. I also don't want people to be like holier than thou or any crap like that, because like it would have maybe, I don't know, like I had to check my own intentions. But it I just want to make sure like there's humans on both sides. And that's part of what, like, I was thinking, is like, imagine if like my wife's pregnant right now. I was like, imagine if my future son saw me lose that publicly. Like, how would that would be tough.
Oh, I thought about that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think all three of us are, more a fan of Dimitri than Lee, but I mean, you still have to give it to Lee. Like, he
By a
stepped into
mile,
that
just to be clear.
ring.
Sorry.
Yeah. But I give it to Lee. He did step in there and took that risk. And I think there's something to be
Yeah.
said for that. It's like, win or lose, just stepping into the ring is really, it's incredibly hard. Even I've never done like a public fight like that. I've done competitions, which are, I mean, they're not private per se, but like, you don't
Yeah.
have quite the audience. And it is incredibly stressful, very different than just like training with friends or
Yeah.
sparring or something. And so I mean, yeah, I mean, good on both of them for just being even willing to step into the ring like that. It's crazy.
I agree. I
Takes
mean, the
guts.
fight it was only so much about boxing, you
Yeah.
know? So like solving it that way, I thought was interesting, but I also think that like I think that I think that it will slow down their public feud, because I don't think that, like, what more can you do? You know?
It'll be slowed down for a long time.
Yeah.
It was
Hopefully.
it's done. Roofers are slow this time of year, so they have a lot of time in their hands. And so hopefully our social media feeds will slow down as well.
Yeah.
I think it will. Well, let's wrap up with one more question. We will end the podcast usually with a couple different questions, but this is one of them.
Okay.
And that is, what are you looking forward to the most this coming week, or in the next 7 days?
I am John messed with me. We're moving our community to a new platform, and I'm pretty pumped about it as I'm like looking at the features and stuff. I was more excited about another platform. And then this new one I think is going to become more mainstream. And I just didn't want to like miss the chance that people already would have it on their phone. So I'm pretty
Just say
excited
it. It's
about that.
Hormozy
School,
School.
Hermosi, like, yes.
Oh, hey, that's
Hey,
his platform.
I
School,
signed up.
whatever.
I actually signed up for it, and I was like, I have to cancel this account. I don't have
Yeah,
the
like,
time.
what are you?
I don't have time for this.
It's pretty sweet though. And it kind of is like giving me some clarity on like what my marketing strategy for the year is going to be, because I've been trying to figure out best what I love paid ads. So like, I know that that's ironic maybe considering the fact that but I
You know
also
how to
have
capitalize
referrals
them.
and organic, and I also am a master of my numbers because that's just my life. Like, that's what I've learned to be. So I wanted to figure out how to create paid ads maybe in a more exponential way. And I've done like paid ads to a Facebook group, paid ads to lead magnets, and then email marketing. I've done all those things, but I think that I just think there's opportunity there. So I'm excited about that.
Love that. Love that. Good stuff, John.
Getting our team ready for the year. We're doing some specific things this week, getting some specific marketing campaigns going. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Good
Oh,
stuff.
I'm looking forward to hot water. Hey, be thankful for hot water. My pipes we live on an island, so they don't build anything for frozen temperatures, and so our pipes burst. And it's Tuesday when we're recording this, and they've been burst since Saturday. So we had to go to our friend's house to take showers last night, and we won't even have it fixed until maybe tomorrow. So
That's rough.
be really thankful for running water.
I will. I'll appreciate it extra.
Nice.
What about you, AJ?
Well, last night I just published I published an updated ProLine almost nightly, but the update last night was our QuickBooks integration, at least version 1 of QuickBooks.
Numbers.
Huge. Yeah. It's
on top.
definitely on the limited side. We're starting
Yeah.
off just syncing contact and project information because we don't want to mess people's accounting up. But we'll work into adding additional data syncing over as like, we're just going to take it one step at a time. But that was a huge initiative that we wanted to get done for this spring in Q1. So getting that was the other two are EagleView and Company Cam integrations, or at least rebuilding those integrations. We already have kind of small integrations with them. But the QuickBooks one was the biggest one that was a big weight on my shoulders. So getting that done, and I'm looking forward to sort of honing it in and this week and just kind of doing tests and doing tweaks and any bug fixes that are necessary to get it working.
Yeah.
So
that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's good. And I appreciate you doing it one step at a time, because I've had a CRM completely confuse my numbers, my QuickBooks before. So that's an experience move right there.
Yeah, we don't want
that. Yeah, I talked to several different companies that built really good QuickBooks integrations, and that's kind of the advice all of them gave, is like, do not try to do it all at once. Like, do it very carefully, very slowly. And I'm glad I got this advice. They're like, you do not try to build a QuickBooks integration if you don't understand QuickBooks. So like, I took a bunch of time and watched a bunch of videos and guides and read documentation. And I'm not a QuickBooks expert, but I at least understand now like the different objects and customers and sub-customers and projects, and like understand the kind of some of the nuances of that. And so, yeah, we're trying to approach it very, very carefully. So
that's exciting though.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, Brad. Really appreciate it. Where you want to shout out some websites, like where should people find you?
So the best way is just following me on Facebook, probably. We also have our Facebook group. If you look up roofing growth strategies, the Built Right Contractor. So roofing growth strategies, the Built Right Contractor. That's a good place to look. And soon I will be launching a public community on school. So It's a pretty cool platform. I expect that at some point in the next year, most people listening will have it downloaded on their phone for something. So might as well start and be on the lookout for mine that will be launching soon.
Nice. That's exciting. Well, thanks again, Brad. And thank you for joining us, everyone listening or watching. And we'll see you next week.